This is Rabbi Shmuel Pollan. Welcome back to a very important issue for us to deal with today, and it is the issue of I'm not good enough. We have so much talk about this on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, and people are making negative comments, and then the creator thinks they're not good enough, and sometimes it's debilitating. They can't even go out of their home because they think they're not good enough, and people are writing songs about this, and there's a lot of workshops about this and books about this, and people are saying it comes from your parents, which it could. Your parents could make you feel like you never got a good enough grade, and therefore you feel like you're not good enough. But I'm here to tell you it's a little bit bigger than that. It's a little more societal. So it's a whole thing of society that is telling you that you are not necessarily good enough. You should never have that thought. That thought should never enter into your mind. It has not entered into my mind in many, many years. I never think that I'm not good enough. It just completely boggles my mind if I would think that. It would just be like a totally insane thought. But I don't have that thought because of the realizations that I've come to thanks to Judaism. And Judaism is the most well-witnessed revelation of a religion that there is. And if anybody should have a say on what the truth of reality is, it should be Judaism. And I hope you will listen to what I have to say, because when you hear the truth of reality, it will help you overcome tremendous obstacles, and you will just not face issues like I'm not good enough anymore. The larger problem is that society has become very atheistic. It's basically adopted the philosophy of the atheist, which is that we came from a big bang, which was random, and we were brought up through random mutations and from primates, and that's what led to who we are. Now, if you believe you're from a big bang and evolution, there is no reason to say that you're special. There's no reason to say that you are good enough. You would have to build up being good enough through your actions and become better and better. And we know that doesn't really work because as good as people are, there's always someone ahead of them, there's always someone better than them, and they always look back and say, well, I could have done even better. So they're never really stable. They never really have that good enough in them. And it is because Judaism and godliness has been driven from the public square. It's been driven from the schools. Because if you would believe in Judaism, what it says, Judeo-Christian values, even though Christianity has sort of lost its way on this issue, but the real truth is that we are a piece of God. Our soul that we have that animates us is literally a piece of God. That means it is infinite, and we can do infinite things. And the fact that we haven't figured out how to do everything yet doesn't mean we're not infinite. We are infinite, but we're working it out. We're trying to get it to express itself through our body, through our activities. And if you're a Christian, you may believe that you're not innately good and you need a Messiah to make you good or make you saved. And that's really your priests are doing a disservice to you, because it's clear if you're a biblical person and you believe in the rabbis of the Bible, you know that the truth is we are innately good. We are a godly soul, and the entire world is created for us, for each individual. The entire world is created just for them. So just imagine that. Imagine how powerful you should feel knowing that your entire universe that you're playing out right now is just for you. It's absolutely just for you, and nothing you can do can change that. Everything will always be for you. So there's no such thing as I'm not good enough. The whole world is for you. Whatever happens is what was meant to happen in your world. There's no such thing as I'm not good enough. It doesn't make any sense. And if you're a godly soul, if you're animated by a godly soul, it doesn't make any sense either. A piece of God could be not good enough. It's ridiculous. You are infinite love and infinite everything. And everything you do during the day actually proves that point. We know that we're infinite because we are able to do more and more things each day. And as I said, just because we're not able to do something doesn't mean we're not infinite. We're just figuring out how to express it through our body and through our activities. So if you are infinite, there's no room to say you're not good enough. Whatever accomplishments you have, And I'm sure you have great accomplishments. We all have great accomplishments, but that is on top of that godly soul. That is on top of that world is created for us. That is on top of everything, being a child of God. Just like I say, Jesus is a child of God. Every one of us, actually, according to the Bible, is a child of God. We all have that same privilege, and being a child means you cannot be not a child. You always are that child. We are always have a connection with God that is beyond space and time and beyond any of our actions. And the holiday of Yom Kippur, which the Jews celebrate, is the day of recognizing that intrinsic connection that we have with God that goes even above sin. Even our sins can't touch this relationship that we have with God that is above everything. And if we just, we'll just move on from that into another argument, another discussion, and that is the logical discussion. I mean, like, is this whole thought of I'm not good enough really logical? Because you have to ask, not good enough for what? What exactly are you not good enough for? Because if you're not good enough at driving yet to drive on your own, that's a good thing. You realize it has nothing to do with who you are, it has nothing to do with your infinite essence, but the fact that in an expressed way you are not good enough at driving to drive on your own, you should know that. You should know that you're not good enough at that. And you should not drive on your own. You should make sure you have a guardian. So in that kind of case, you always have to ask, what am I talking about? Am I good enough at singing? Well, good enough at singing for what? Good enough to get a record contract? Good enough to be on the radio? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. It's the essence of free thinking to be able to see both sides of an issue. It's logical to look at every situation and say, well, I'm good enough for this and I'm not good enough for that. I'm good enough to do this kind of activity. I'm not good enough to do that kind of activity. Therefore, I'm going to do this and not that. Be able to see both sides of an issue. Very important to be a free thinker and be able to see I'm good enough for this level and I'm not good enough for that level. It makes no difference what level you're on. It's important just to know what you are good enough for and what you're not good enough for. And you are, in fact, when it comes to your activities, always good enough for something and not good enough for something else. You're always going to have those two things. So there's no point in stressing about, am I good enough? First of all, it has nothing to do with your essence. It has nothing to do with who you really are. It has nothing to do with you as a person. It's all an expression of your infinite nature into the world. But a free thinker sees both sides. Another thing to think about is that if we look at this world, what is it? It's actually a story or a movie. We're looking at a story or a movie. And in a story or a movie, does it matter whether your character is on top or on bottom? No. It matters how you play that part. How well do you play the part of the person being on top? And how well do you play the part of the person being on the bottom? Nobody cares if you're the one on top or if you're the one on bottom. Nobody looks down on you because you're the one on the bottom. In fact, that could be the greatest part that's played in the movies, because the person who is in the deepest darkness will shine the light the brightest, because light shines the brightest in a dark room. So when you're at the bottom, it doesn't matter that you're at the bottom. That doesn't mean you're any less than. It means you're in a movie or you're in a story, you're in a play, and we want to see what you're going to do with the bottom. How are you going to get yourself out of the bottom, or how are you going to make peace with the bottom, or what are you going to do with the bottom? But the fact that you're at the bottom doesn't make any difference at all. It shouldn't make any difference to your self-esteem. Your self-esteem should be absolutely infinite. I don't know, different rabbis say different things about self-esteem, but the way I see it, if we are a godly essence at our core, self-esteem is just through the roof. But you have to make sure that you're humble, because that's a misuse of your godly powers. Your godly powers are given to you to serve others. And that brings us to an important point that we'll conclude with, is that you are a godly essence because God serves others and you are meant to serve others. And if you would be thinking more about serving others, thinking about how to serve the people around you, how to make them happier, how to make them greater, how to bring out their innate potential, and you wouldn't be thinking so much about who you are, because that's not as important. If you want to, what's important is who they are and what they are accomplishing, and what you can do to really listen to them and really connect with them. And if you will spend your time thinking more about how to serve other people rather than evaluating who you are and what you're worth, when what you're worth is absolutely infinite, then you will have a good life in this world and the next. God bless.